Hello and welcome to Spencer's Library. I'm Claudia, this is Bill, and today we are going to be playing a little game. Do you want to explain what the game is?
I've been on Goodreads.com and I've looked at one-star reviews for a variety of Jane Austen novels. Variety, there's 6 in it. You've got a 1 in 6 chance if you guess purely. So what we're going to do is read out these reviews and you're going to guess which book is being reviewed.
Yeah, so guess along, grab yourself something to write.
Well, I should have something as well, shouldn't I?
Yeah, to keep score.
I've got to keep your score.
We are not going to wait for you to grab a pen and paper because you have a pause button, you know how to operate it. So get yourself something to write and then you can guess along, and please make sure when the video is finished, tell me in the comments if you did better than me or not. Just as a little reminder, the Jane Austen novels are... Oh, well, you know them all now because obviously you've been looking at reviews.
The novels are Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Mansfield Park, Emma, Northanger Abbey.
Yes. Come on, we just saw the world's worst adaptation of it.
Persuasion!
Yes! Let's get started then. Bring on the Easter-themed biscuit tin of Jane Austen novels.
Yes.
Oh, you gotta rustle, Bill, otherwise there's no point. There you go.
Yeah, I get it.
I'll hold these.
I have to say, this is quite the most boring book I've ever read. I love classics, but Austen lost her way here. There must have been 100 pages about putting on a play, whether that was a noble thing to do or not.
Mansfield Park.
Yeah, very good. I thought that was an easy one.
Yeah, and also, I entirely agree with it.
There was a few reviews that mentioned that there was this whole thing where they decided in the book whether or not to put on a play.
The thing is, Bill, let me just briefly explain this to you, because you haven't read Mansfield Park or watched it. They put on a play in the house, and they all act like they're essentially filming a porno.
Right, okay.
So they're like, how scandalous that we put on this play. I'm sure it makes perfect sense within an early 19th century context, but it's so boring to read about.
Okay, next one. Sorry, I couldn't get into the babble about who was committing what social scandal anymore. These characters are excellent in bits and pieces. I just couldn't handle a whole book of it. Maybe it was the wrong time, wrong place for me.
That could be any of them. Absolutely any. Is there more?
Don't worry, I will sit in the I read it wrong corner for this one, so don't bother trolling me.
Okay.
Maybe that helps.
So a lot of Austen books are about social wrongs. I mean, all of them to some degree. I think the one where that's in the most foreground would be Emma. So I'm going to go with that.
Wrong, Pride and Prejudice.
Oh no.
I mean, the reviewer of this one is called Lydia, so you've got to think that...
It's probably not Pride and Prejudice then.
Or maybe her parents like Pride and Prejudice. One of my favourite The Guardian book reviewers said this was her favourite Jane Austen title. I fell for it. Minerva spends most of her days not understanding her friends or her surroundings, making poor plans for them, then it all ends in her favour. It'd be hilarious to graph the events on paper. Read the last chapter and spare yourself the boredom of trying to empathise with 10 people in a year doing nothing near Bath.
We should mention that you have deliberately replaced the name of the character with Minerva.
The names will be slightly altered for the purposes of this.
Sure.
Yes.
Until you said
Subtly.
Bath, I thought you were talking about Emma again, because Emma does make a lot of plans for her friends that all end up in her favour, but Emma does not go to Bath. There's only 2 Jane Austen novels set in Bath, and that's Persuasion and Northanger Abbey. So
you're going to trust Lydia's knowledge of that, though?
Yes. Persuasion.
That is Emma.
It's Emma. It really is Emma.
It really is Emma, yeah.
Oh, Lydia, you betrayed me.
Yeah.
I can't believe Lydia got that wrong.
She said near Bath. I mean, how near is near, you know?
Highbury.
Are we near Bath?
Highbury, oh god, I should know what county it's in.
We're nearer Bath than a lot of countries.
We don't even have a bathtub in this house.
I was really disappointed by this book, especially since I tend to love Austen. The plot is plodding and boring. Minerva does almost nothing as the protagonist. Everything happens around her rather than to or with her. It lacks both charm and humour, 2 things that characterise Austen I don't recommend.
Mansfield Park, 100%.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. What gave you that?
It's just the truth.
Because Minerva does nothing.
Minerva does nothing. There's no humour in it. It is boring.
You get a man, and I get a man, and she gets a man, and we're all so happy now, life is complete, la-di-da,
Pride and Prejudice.
Correct.
I don't understand what's wrong with that. Like, it's correct. But why 1-star review? Like, I could have written the exact same review and then given it 5 stars.
5 stars, right, okay. The narrative was ridiculous. We get this...
Minerva,
Minerva's
get out
in
of
a
the
bag.
paper bag.
We get this huge build-up, and finally... That's very loud. And finally things start happening in the book. But then the last chapter wraps up everything in such a rushed manner that you don't actually get to see the events that you've been hoping for the entire book. I stand with my first statement: reading Jane Austen is equivalent to reading 6th grade books.
You know what, that could be a lot of them. Because what Jane Austen adaptations always tweak in Jane Austen is they have this grand romantic finale. And in a lot of Austen books, that's just not the case. So I think this could be Pride and Prejudice, where the final proposal is just kind of not as exciting. It could be Mansfield Park, where they kind of get together in an epilogue. I'm going to go with Persuasion. No. Mansfield Park.
Mansfield Park is correct.
Right, next one.
This old-esque English is bad, and all of the characters are very pretentious and not enjoyable to read about. More than 50% of the way through the book, and the main character and love interest are still not even talking.
Which book are they not talking halfway through? It could be Pride and Prejudice, actually. Or Sense and Sensibility. I'm going to go for Sense and Sensibility.
It's Persuasion, but you're still such a nerd.
Hey, how dare you call me a nerd, scoring me on your Magic the Gathering app?
This was painful. I read it because I felt like I haven't explored enough Austen and kept expecting more to like it at some point. Never happened. An irritating manners comedy where I never felt sympathetic towards anyone because they were all trying to figure out how to support themselves without ever actually working.
That's just so fair. I have to say, I have not yet taken a socialist approach to reading Jane Austen, but maybe it's time. None of them work in any of the books, but the one I think that's most about like money and supporting yourself would be Sense and Sensibility.
Yep, that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll skip the first sentence of this one, but because it's a bit of a giveaway, but remind me later. Oh, well, I regret my time wasted on this boring as hell title. The slowest burn ever, literally something happens on the last 20 pages. This book is just about a bunch of people going to each other's houses and talking shit behind each other's back. Love story in this book, never heard of, didn't find it. Guys, just watch the movie and don't bother to pick it up, even audiobooks won't save yous.
It can be Pride and Prejudice. There's a lot of action in Pride and Prejudice. If you read Pride and Prejudice and then say nothing happens till the last 20 pages, then you have not read that book. Oh, this is tough. It could be any of them. Sense and Sensibility.
Are they all just going to each other's houses and talking shit behind each other's back? Is that...
Yes.
That's Jane Austen?
Yes.
Right.
Genuinely, that's all that happens. Sense and Sensibility.
I'll give you the first sentence. I decided to read this book only because the movie adaptation is coming to Netflix soon.
So it is Persuasion. Oh,
It is
no.
Persuasion.
Oh, this person was probably disappointed by that adaptation.
This was my first Jane Austen novel, and I hated every second of it.
Oh.
I understand that much of it is satire, which is usually a plus, but not in this case. From an analytical standpoint, the novel has interesting themes. The problem is that I enjoyed writing about it much more than reading it. The main story was rather annoying, to be honest. I dislike novels in which the main character can only be categorised as silly and naive, and this novel is basically the story of a silly girl lost in a serious world. There wasn't enough character growth for my taste.
Northanger Abbey.
Yes, it is Northanger Abbey.
Northanger Abbey has the most naive and also the youngest of Jane Austen's books, but it's still a very fun book and I enjoy it a lot.
Alright, I may have made an error, actually. Leggero questo libro è stato molto noioso. La protagonista è esageratamente ingenua, poiché ne fa troppo buona appare quasi stupida. Non si rende conto della realtà che la circonda e si lascia trasportare dalla fantasia come se avesse 5 anni. Ma anche il comportamento degli altri personaggi è improbabile. Please get this. Please get this before I finish reading it. Ho trovato questo libro carente sotto molti punti di vista. La parte descritta è quasi assente. Debriosi scambi di battute che sono un tratto distintivo di altri lavori di Austen che non c'è traccia.
Northanger Abbey.
Thank you so much.
Is it right?
Yeah. You can put a translation of that one.
I understood maybe every sixth word because your
That's a good
Italian
line.
pronunciation is so atrocious.
Yeah, that's because I don't speak Italian.
Well, you chose this to put in there. That's all I'm saying. The next one's going to be in Danish.
I really hate this novel. It's definitely my least favourite book because the main character, Minerva, is just a Mary Sue. She's so lame and barely has a personality. Her entire character is just being moral and just, and nobody is that good and decent. It doesn't feel like she's a real character, and Beadle is a wet blanket of a love interest too.
Oh god,
There's
definitely.
really nothing
100%
redeeming about this novel.
is Mansfield Park.
Yeah.
Edmund of Mansfield Park, ignoring the whole first cousin thing, is just the most boring, blandest, annoying. Like, I mean, I really dislike Fanny Price, but she deserves better than Edmund Bertram.
What the hell did I just read?
Emma probably.
The heroine is a scatterbrain. Almost all characters present are parodies of character tropes, and the plot is a clusterfuck or not there at all. And it's really, really boring, with the exception of some parts. But I do get to take this book off my TBR. Yay!
The heroine, can you just read the bit about the heroine?
That's the only clue, really. The heroine is a scatterbrain. Almost all characters present are parodies of character tropes.
Northanger Abbey.
Yeah.
There are some books that are just easier to guess because I think Pride and Prejudice is the perfect novel, and I just don't think there's much you can criticise about it, so...
Jane Austen was like, I'm going to write a protagonist so boring and unlikable, and then proceeded to do just that.
Emma.
Northanger Abbey.
Oh! What? I am offended on behalf of Catherine Morland. Because about Emma, Jane Austen famously said that she's a protagonist that no one but herself will like. Oh, that's two, I think.
Reread this and wonder how come this book is a classic. Story is totally insignificant and without suspense or revelations. Characters are chatty and shallow. Minerva's father must be the most self-centered man in the history of literature. Language dull, so why all the praise?
Minerva's father. Now, there's a lot of self-centered fathers in Jane Austen. I guess the two that come to mind are Persuasion or Emma. They're definitely the most self-centered, but I'm going to go with Persuasion.
No, that's a shame.
Was it Emma?
It was Emma.
But they are kind of similar in...
No, in the guy in Persuasion was very conceited. That was like his entire character.
Yeah, the guy in Persuasion was sort of vain. That's why I thought self-centered fit him better. The father of Emma is this kind of hypochondriac who tries and control everyone's lives through that.
Just not for me. I understand it's historically accurate, and this is how life was then. Women lived to find a husband and have babies. I couldn't handle the deceiving and the scandals. It was just a big game, brackets similar to now. But that was all they lived for. And I'm sorry, I can't handle the writing either. I'm not one for romance in any novel, but then you have an entire book about romance. I can't do it. I had to give it a try, though.
Oh, this is so interesting, because this doesn't sound like it's about Jane Austen at all. In none of the Jane Austen novels, I guess maybe Sense and Sensibility is the most about romance, so that would be my guess. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Sense and Sensibility is most about finding a husband, you know, the romance plots, because obviously there's two protagonists, two romances, takes up more of the book.
Ich kam mir vor wie bei einem Kaffeeklatsch alter Frauen, die über die Bewohner des Dorfes plapperten. Der Herr macht das, die Frau macht das, bla bla. Leider überhaupt kein mein Geschmack.
Well, again, that could be any of them. So which one's most like old ladies talking about each other? I would say Pride and Prejudice.
No, that one's Emma.
Emma, yeah. The two are very similar, I think, in style and in vibe. I'm talking about it like everyone here understood this review.
No, but I'm sure you're going to subtitle there.
Yes, in German. I'm not going to translate these.
Why not? It takes like 30 seconds.
Oh, okay, well, you do it then. Bill, in the
Just put
subtitle...
them on the screen. It doesn't have to be subtitles.
Oh, just put them on the screen, says the man who does not edit my videos.
There will be some method by which our non-German, non-Italian viewers can understand
Yes, there will be.
those. Okay. Tedious to the fullest. 1 star because I liked some quotes and it got interesting by the ending. But oh, the story revolves around all the characters but the main ones. So tedious.
Sense and Sensibility.
No, Persuasion.
Persuasion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess Anne is a sort of visitor in her own story at first, but definitely not for long.
Mm-hmm.
What's my score so far? Is it 10 to 8?
10 to 8, yeah.
Ah, that's not very good, is it?
My first Austen and such a disappointment. I even got lost between who is who, related to who, and ended up not caring about who thought what. The crowd in this novel tends to overanalyse and assume a lot, twisting viewpoints. I found Minerva all the more unbearable with all her wisdom and patience with that lot who just deserved to go to hell for being so vain, childish or secretive and manipulative. Stop submitting that girl to such torture. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's got to be either Mansfield Park or Persuasion. It has to be. It cannot be any other book. And I'm going for Mansfield Park again.
Oh.
Is it Persuasion?
It is Persuasion.
Damn it!
Yeah, correct. Okay, so you've done quite badly so far, so this last one will determine if you have a positive record or not.
Okay.
There's so many reviews that started like this. I had to read this as part of my A-level, and it was painfully awful. It goes on forever, has a hideously long midsection about a trip to Derbyshire that does little to move the story forward, and features
Pride and
characters that are
Prejudice.
utterly unsympathetic. Yes, Pride and Prejudice.
So where they go to Derbyshire.
Lucky to draw on.
But also, how
Easier
is
than that.
this the bit that they didn't like? Because it's one of my favourite parts of Pride and Prejudice.
Apparently it doesn't move the plot forward.
It really does. It
really does.
They go to Derbyshire, right? And this is after Darcy has proposed to Elizabeth for the first time and she's rejected him. To be fair, his proposal was, do you want to marry me? I hate all of your relatives and you are beneath me. Which, don't do that. So then they go to Derbyshire and she sees his massive mansion, right? With the park. And then she's like, maybe I made a mistake. And then she runs into him. He comes out of the water only in the adaptation, I know that. And then she's like, actually, you do look good in a wet shirt. And then he's really polite to her aunt and uncle. And then she's like, yeah, okay, missed an opportunity there, but it's all good in the end. So that does move the plot forwards. I bet this person did not do very well in their A-levels.
So, Claudia, you got 11 correct and 9 incorrect. How did you do at home? Do you know more Jane Austen than Claudia?
Probably. All right, well, we'll leave it there. Thanks, Bill, for picking those out. And how do I finish this?
Go away.
This is Charlie Brooker's catchphrase. You can't steal that.
Stay here. Watch another video. Watch the next one YouTube recommends.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Bye.